Welcome to Answers from the Universe and the Andronicus transmissions on Wolf Spirit Radio, Ever Beyond Radio, and Studio 9 Jam on YouTube. With your host, Jessica Ariel Morocco, featuring JP as the voice of Andronicus. Please visit www.readingsbyrael.com, that's A-R-A-E-L.
From the future, by way of past. I bought my ticket for the 15th century. We started moving through a hole in history.
You're listening to Wolf Spirit Radio.
Hello, and thank you for joining us today at Answers from the Universe. I'm so excited to be here. And hello, JP. How are you?
Morning, Jessica. How are you doing?
Pretty good. It's been really busy, but I do want to say that new intro, we found that music by ALO, and that's called The Ticket, and JP put together the edit. So it sounds fantastic. I really think it depicts a lot of what's going on in the show, so I hope you enjoyed as much as I did, and you'll be hearing that from now on. It was a great band, anyhow. I started listening to their music. They have a lot of great stuff. So, JP, how are you doing?
I am very good today. I just woke up. I'm on my second cup of tea, so I'm almost human. By the way, did you see the X-Files? Have you seen the X-Files yet? You haven't seen them yet?
No, I keep on telling I have to see it, and it's just there's so many things there's so many different things that are going on right now that I haven't gotten to take a look at it yet. So please share it with us. Tell me what's on your mind.
There's a moment in it, and there's basically what my girlfriend calls the Earth Draco, which is the Earth-based reptilian who derived from the ruins of the planet after the comet had hit us. The thing that killed the dinosaurs didn't kill all the lizards, and some of them evolved and are humanoid and live underground. And we've been talking about these. And anyway, so there's one of these creatures, and he's just woken up after a 10,000-year hibernation, and he's anyway. I don't want to put too many spoilers into it.
You're doing it again. You're like leading into where the show is going to probably go to.
Well, anyway, the big thing about this is that the guy gets bitten by a werewolf. This lizard gets bitten by a werewolf, right? And so he starts instead of turning into a wolf, he turns into a human. It's a comedy.
Strange biology.
It's a comedy, right? The guy who plays the reptilian is an Australian comedian, and is very good. But right in the middle of it, he's like, I get all these urges to go to, when he gets into the human body, I get this urge to go out and find a job and look for a mortgage, and I don't even know what these words mean. And it's like, he's getting these urges to be a kind of sheeple, But anyway, halfway through it, he's like, I'm really, really terrible. Need coffee.
Need coffee, yeah. Why do I need coffee? I don't know.
So he takes this
big
thing. Exactly. He takes this big slug of coffee. I feel human now.
Yeah.
Just that's the punchline. It's like, because we all feel human after a cup of coffee.
Meanwhile, we're these reptilian beasts just roaming around, grazing somewhere. Oh my gosh. Well, we've had our late night discussions about different things here and there with everybody. I just woke up this morning, one conversation after another. So we have got a packed show. Everybody who's anyone is showing up, and it's been a busy week for me. Starting off with Andronicus, which is always nice to hear from Andronicus. And then we will hear from Rhodan. And by the way, Meetis has he's in a very, very musical mood, so I don't know if you're up for that. He's got
at least,
I think I think there's 3 short songs in there, so just to let you know. But we'll probably catch him at the end because we're going to have a little bit of heavier stuff that came in. Now, I had one of the for those of you that don't know anything about the show, I like to do a brief, really quick caption of
please.
what we do here is this summer I was doing a hypnosis regression session with someone, and I opened up to the connection with Andronicus, who was from Andromeda at the time and was oppressed, and I followed him throughout this long trek of all the different species that he's interacted with, and some of the primary characters that have emerged and even have connected with me through him and continue to speak with me, particularly Rhodan, who seems to have been a part of the Orion Council and is, overseeing everything a lot of the things that are happening on the planet. And then others like Borkum, who we're not going to talk about today because he just hasn't come through since he went through Mercury. And Meetis, who is also another character, and we discovered later on that Meetis seems to go back and forth in gender, and someone reminded us that the name Meetis, or was Metis, was seen in the ancient Greek and Roman times, and whereas, Andronicus was also an incarnation of Zeus. And so there's, all these really strange connections to our ancient history and lore. So we also have this other one now. He's just a visitor, I think. I don't know if he's going to stick around. I never know who's going to stick around and continue on with the conversations. Of course, we have Khalib, who came through a little bit, but doesn't usually speak a whole lot. But these are the primary sons of Shiva that I was told. And that's how they refer to themselves. So Khalib, Rhodan, Zamfir is another one who usually doesn't talk a lot but has a presence. And then there's Meetis. I'm not sure. Meetis, I believe, is an Andromedan as well as Andronicus, but quite different in personality. And so we have this visitor called Yorik, spelled with a Y, and he is from the Nordics, the white Nordics that live in the Middle Earth. And then there's the Orion Council came through, primarily the Pleiadians, and there's a lot of stuff going on with the Pleiadians now, for those of you that are not aware. There's just a lot of activity and some freeing up a bit of different things. So I wonder if we should just delve into Andronicus now, JP, or unless you have something else that you want to share.
Oh, wow. There's so much going on within and without the Andronicus transmissions. And it all seems to be very kind of relevant to our situation and relationships. It's like, it's more, this is more than just a kind of made up thing. There's something, something grounded and real about this whole thing. Because it interacts with our personal lives so much, you and me,
Mm-hmm.
So,
but not only that, you get confirmations from people. People say, yeah, I saw that too, and I'm having other people that are in this space as I am and you are, and there's all this intersecting, and we're not even communicating, but there's an awareness that this type of stuff is going on, and it's almost like this lifting and layering of stuff that's been on the planet for so long, and that finally they're going back to their home. They're going back to be healed. There's a restructuring and a releasement that's happening throughout the planet. So there's nothing really severe. However, there's a lighter feeling, and what the intention is that maybe we can have a more harmonious communication throughout the planet and throughout the universe as well. Some of the stuff sounds really bizarro to some people, and that's totally fine. It's not for you. That's fine. You can just sit back and reap the benefits of it, and we'll do the work. We'll be the ones that communicate. It's sort of like in the Matrix. I just revisited the Matrix again, and so we're the people that took the red pill. Okay, you're the ones that chose to have the blue pill. That's fine. Enjoy your life. Make your money. Do whatever you want. There's no judgment. Just that was your choice. We chose to take the red pill. So, and we're on this like really wild journey and experience and so forth. So, but meanwhile, I feel very strongly that it's influencing the planet, in a good way. Like I said, the releasement of some of these really ancient energies. So, sorry, JP, if I cut you off.
Not a problem. No, not a problem at all. Talking of red pill, here's a jingle I made up last year. You're listening to Wolf Spirit Radio, where the choice is simple. Take the blue pill and believe whatever you want to believe, or take the red pill and see how deep the rabbit hole goes. Join the ODD Collective radio show and those who took the red pill. You're listening to Wolf Spirit Radio.
Yeah, we'll just label ourselves as the red pill people.
And so, there was a tune that I made. I think that was it. I don't know if that's the red pill, but this tune I called Red Pill Blues. It's just, it's this one. It's quite a nice sort of pleasant.
I love your stuff. Your stuff is, really nice.
This is the Red Pill Blues. It's quite pleasant. Anyway.
The red pill blues.
Get it? Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
That's because there's moments when you're like, what the F?
Yeah, what the...
What happened? We won't say that, but
No,
you know what I mean.
We don't. We tend not. It's
The expletive.
Yeah, the expletive deleted. So, shall we? Well, I want to say, hello to everybody in the chat room now. We've got quite a lot of people coming along now compared with how it used to be. I just want to say. Give a shout out to everybody. Alexander from Germany, K-Girl921, Lisa Faye 7, Old Ones, Ray Rowe, The Time Is Now, 3 Crow, TJ Madge, True Magic, and Vanessa. Colleen is obviously still asleep. But that's okay, because we sleep a lot. We need a lot of sleep here, so we do what we can. So It's lovely to have you all here in the live chat room. Back on YouTube. Welcome everybody. This is
welcome.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the new theme tune, everybody.
Red pill people.
The red pill people. So, which red pill should we take today first?
We're going to start off with the Master of Ceremonies, Andronicus.
Right, here we go. Yes.
Yes.
Andronicus transmission 34. You're going to read this?
Yes. I observed Andronicus in a big underground cavern with green water and a grand rock structure that seemed to cradle the interior like a lace-like shell in an amphitheater. A great dragon came forward, and she lifted from the water with her great wings and flew above the green, clear liquid beneath her, and above and out of the cave. Outside of the cave, there began a morphing from a being within a dragon and into being a humanoid being once again. He needed this as a metamorphosis to regain his original form as an Andromedan. So this was Andronicus. The green water was an algae-like substance of the purest green form. When he emerged, much like the track of a butterfly, the outer shell of the dragon created his form. It is the form of hibernation and restoration. The female dragon then separates from us, and we are then set free. That's what Andronicus said, sorry.
Oh, does it? All right. Okay. So, it is a form of hibernation and restoration. The female dragon then separates from us, and we are then set free. Our species and other species experience this transformation. There are varying degrees of metamorphosis. Some choose to take on more characteristics of the dragon, like the Slitarin and the Vinkala. Even Meetis needed that energy to help him endure his plight. The reasons why dragons appeared on your planet is because some of us needed to be restored and incarnate properly. Your form of incarnation does not satisfy our needs. We are of another substance. We have different capacities of existence. You are in fear and categorize what we are. We are much like you, but we're designed to withstand a much more severe extreme of environmental habitats. We were designed to traverse the universe without complex equipment. We have abilities that you don't understand and can adapt to different experiences. We should not have brought them to your planet. It was a violation to your existence. The dragons released energy and power to those who they connected to the planet, and it was our fault that there is an imbalance in all nations. We were the Hypernians. It is our teachings that assisted the new knowledge that would help in the expansion and evolution of your society. The dragons, or dragon-like creatures, are displayed in all of the family crests who are affected by it. I suppose you want to know what all of this means. We violated the rules and have paid dearly for it. We created imbalances on your planet, and still, in your present year, you are feeling the repercussions of it.
Tell me, where is this place that I saw you emerge from within the cavern?
It's a place called Dragonis, or Dragonis. It is beautiful, much like some of the locations on the planet. The Dragoness is like our mother, a hibernation of loving and nurturing energy. We are not birthed into being.
Are all species derived from the dragons? If they refer to the dragons as mothers?
They're not our mothers. They are our nurturers, like handmaids. Yes, you are confused as being one of them because of your nurturing ways. The male of many species would come to spend time with the dragoness and then depart for their journey. They would not necessarily engage with the dragoness as a wife, despite all of the nurturing involved. In addition to the fact that it was not an incestuous issue because they are entirely separate species. What they do for us is keep us safe while in hibernation and create a sense of warmth, like you would consider to be a womb.
Isn't it a natural response for all mothers of all species to care for their kind?
There was an imbalance that occurred on the planet because many of us abandoned our own kind and replaced the natural nurturing of our mother.
Did you have a mother?
Yes, but we allowed our true mother to die. We thought that we wanted our independence and allowed both parents to dissipate into the darkness. It was a horrific sight for all of us. We didn't fully understand at the time. Our independence prevented us to be able to care for them. I heard your thought regarding Emmanuel's mother. She was a human and was nurturing to him. He didn't require a lot because he was the embodiment of love. This is Mary, Mother of Jesus.
I knew he was not a human and wondered that if he also had the practice of searching for hibernation and protection as you have.
We are not of the same species as he is. They are much more evolved than we are and have learned much more than we can understand. You talk of him as if you know him.
I had a strong connection with him as a child and see him on occasion if I'm around his worshippers.
It is good that you follow your guidance and don't ignore it. You have other connections that you are responsible for, such as us. We wonder if you were our mother who had passed. Some aspects of you we cannot explain.
What about Primus? Do you suspect him also to be of your ancient origin?
We know where Primus was from. He was brought forth from the great mount on a planet that no longer exists. Kitara, or Kitiara. This is where the name Kathmandu came from. One of the first of the Titans brought forth from the Bifrost. I once had a great tigress as a mother. You reminded me of her, quite powerful and protective of her children, and very loving and beautiful in motion. She would stand guard while we slept. I hibernated well, and she awakened me when the time was over. I was buried deep into the earth, slightly burrowed, but able to breathe in the atmosphere of life. The green plants entangled about me, and I gained nutrients while I slept.
This is an interesting conversation to speak about the nurturing mother. We were questioning the idea that you disliked or had little respect for females.
I will admit that I did at one time. The nurturing mother is our gift, and too often we forget how beautiful a gift it is. You never notice it until it's gone. I hurt for you. You never caused a lot of problems, but suffered much from our recklessness.
Are you sure that it was me?
I'm not sure, but then we all have said, who else would put up with a bunch of troublesome children? You don't seem to blink an eye at us when we have slighted you. You are patient and understanding when we deserved nothing at all. I saw you and remembered something very unique. A look that only a son could remember. A faraway look, as if you could peer for endless miles beyond the sun. It was a sense of knowing that despite all happenings, you knew what was to come and what you should do. You always knew what to do.
I felt the tears run down my face. I knew what he was saying. It is true. I always know what to do, and I don't know how I know. Do you know why your mother and your father left?
We said we didn't need them. We were so foolish. We wanted to explore the universe without them.
Do you know who or where father is?
We miss him so much as well. We all wanted to be like him. We don't know where he went.
You came to see me this way while you were in Greece, when you peered into the future.
No, it was when I was on Jupiter that I saw you and visited you as a child. I disguised myself as Dr. Seuss, someone friendly so you wouldn't be alarmed by me. I didn't want to frighten you. You wrote the story, Jupiter's Child. I gave that to you. You kept showing up next to me, and I kept asking how did you find me? It was strange that you never knew how you got there. Somewhere in your memory you always know how to find me. I love you for not giving up on me.
What if you discover that I am not your mother?
Then I will continue to search for my mother and figure out who you are, but never let you go either way.
You know that I love you despite some of the horrible things I witnessed that happened in Greece.
I was a madman then. I felt there was a corruption of insurmountable challenges at that time. Your stories of Atlantis and strange species and hybrid animals and humans all derived in Rome, not Atlantis as you imagined. There were problems in Atlantis of another nature, but the Earth history was reprogrammed to reflect the problem as if it came from Atlantis. This was not true. They knew the reptilian and grey species, that if you had the true timelines you would find the original portals where they entered, so they altered the information and knowledge of history to disguise the original invent. Now you can go in and shut down their network of deceit. Now is the time to seize the power grid from them and bring in the earthly peace. They destroyed me in Greece. Had it not been for Rhodan and Meetis, I would not have survived. They came in like an endless flood. Borkum was fearless in taking them forward and watching their whereabouts. We're still in recovery mode. Our dragoness mothers all betrayed us. They knew our weaknesses. Meetis disguised himself as a woman and tricked many of them. You don't remember, but you also lured in many with your sexual enticements. I lost track of it all. Arten betrayed us as well. It was a horrific event. Arten then posed as me and struck out at my friends and compatriots. He and the Vinkala struck out at Primus. It was not just the fire Primus brought, but the knowledge of how to survive. He taught them how to defend themselves along with others. They changed the stories to say that we were at odds with the Titans. Instead, we were at odds with the strange beasts, the Minotaurs, the Vinkala, the rejected satyrs and other grey species who easily manipulated their minds. This is the origin of your present problem. It all happened in your ancient Greek time. King Minos betrayed us. He took power and gave assistance to our enemies. Many were tortured for helping us. None of this information was recorded. It was all there, the fall of man. Not because man was evil, but because mankind's mind and pure thinking was invaded by the corruption of the Vinkala. Had we connected this sooner? Had we corrected this sooner? The pain would not be so great for many right now. Borkum was almost destroyed while trying to help. Meetis was badly treated as well. For myself, I don't care what happened. I'm much more hardy than the others. We need your help and the help of Primus and all who will hear us save your planet. We will help you.
I suddenly saw a gray veil and then removed it, and a great big flower, like energy, was revealed, and it seemed to be an energy of some sort.
You broke up a little bit, Jess. Do you want to say that again?
I suddenly saw a great gray veil, and then I removed it, and a great big flower, like energy, was revealed. It seemed to be an energy of some sort.
You did it! You revealed the sacred flower from our life source DNA. We are now freed of the grey species. I can see all around me without distortion. Their power grid over me is now gone. I told them to be kinder to you. They wouldn't listen. Please disregard their jaded comments. Many of them have been under tremendous atrocities that you cannot imagine. None of this was planned. We did not anticipate the coldness of this species and their incessant desire for warfare.
Are you talking about the Greys or the Vinkala?
Both are violent, but the Greys are much more intelligent and sophisticated in their mental warfare. They have an appetite for violence that is astonishing. You don't seem to be affected by them. The past few days have been a test. Many have observed your fearless interaction with them. They become submissive to you when you observe them. You aborted a few serious missions of theirs without thinking anything of it. This is another reason why we believe you are who we think you are, the mother of many. We will continue to watch, support and guide you. Tell Primus he is headed in the right direction. I must leave for now. 33, 43, 888, 96. The 4-star gate awaits us now. Or, the 4-star gate awaits us now. Andronicus. Holy mother of everybody.
Everybody. I know, that completely threw me off.
When they throw these things in, it does a bit. You know, I'm reading this stuff and Primus is like, yeah, guitar, yeah, I like cats. But I don't have a planet.
Like,
yeah.
I was like, well, what are they? So, well, I don't think that. I think a lot of planets were removed. There was a lot of desolation, and a fraction of the ones that exist, that continue to exist, but even still, a lot of them, they're not habitable. So there's just like a lot of destruction that went on for different reasons. I mean, you saw how when Andronicus early on, planet 438, sector 438 got destroyed. The blue star Zephron got destroyed. So it's like these things just kind of, for whatever reason, they don't last. And but the whole interaction was wild. For starting off with the connection to the dragons. So because they're journeymen and they had found a species that would at least help them go into that deep sleep or some kind of hibernation that they do. And it was nurturing but also very protective. I mean, who's going to take down a dragon?
Yeah, it's interesting idea that there's there's this what's that word, symbiotic relationship with a dragon that I mean, it's like the dragon takes them into their body and creates a kind of cocoon around them, encapsulates them somehow. That is like a kind of well, it's like going back into an egg. It seems, isn't it? It's like what, all the stuff that an egg gives the fetus is what the dragon gives these beings, and they're not human. He's very obviously not human. You can bury this guy in the soil for thousands of years, and he'll stay there.
Yeah, and it sounds like they took on some other species as well. So it was sort of like a midwifery or a kind of. It's almost like they were the babysitters. They were the ones that were brought in because they were so far away from their species and traveling alone often and being the only one around. But they found that they could connect with these dragons, the dragoness, and the dragoness would support them to the degree that they felt that they needed the dragoness and actually brought the dragoness to this planet. And so where our lore comes in of dragons being on the planet, because they don't seem to naturally be around the way that the dinosaurs were. And but I also then, right before the show started, I have this transmission from the Orion Council in regard to the dragons on the planet. And so the dragons were not supposed to be here, and Andronicus is what they kind of snuck them in. But because, they were in that fear mode, thinking that they needed that nurturing center to go to if something happened. But I don't think that they used them so much for protection otherwise, only, when they were asleep and felt like they were vulnerable at that point. It was really weird. It started off with that vision where I saw, the dinosaur coming up and out of this. It was in this cavernous green algae-like water, and it was underneath the water, but it emerged up out of the water within this cavern, and it looked like it was very, very, not carved, but naturally formed, but lace-like, kind of frail looking, like a subset of stonework, or natural cave-like stones, that had formed in a way maybe from moisture or whatever within the space. And the cavern was very large. And, I don't know how deep the water went. I got the impression it went very deep as well. And so the dragon emerged out and then entered, outside, and the place looked absolutely beautiful. It was very, I don't know, it was in Dragonis, I guess. And so then when the dragon came out, it went outside of the cave, and then he came out of the dragon, but it was almost like he came out of the skin of the dragon, like as if the dragon didn't exist anymore, but then I felt like the dragoness was still there. It was really weird. So it was hard for me to kind of, you could see I was fumbling over it in the beginning.
Yeah, there is something about a dragon that is kind of I mean, very much like the idea of the phoenix, that the phoenix burns up and then reappears afresh.
Yeah, it's
the dragon.
Yeah, it's
gives
magical, mystical, and hidden. There's a lot of hidden information about it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. And so they have basically imported dragons onto the planet. And
yes.
Do dragons reproduce? I mean, this is the thing. They seem to be dragons seem to produce eggs, and then they produce, and then they lay their own egg, then they die, then they become the egg, and then become the dragon again. There's it's a mystical thing.
And if it was like repopulating, then there would have been more. But it seems like they were of a dying breed because they must not have repopulated. I get the impression that while they were here on the planet, they were not repopulating. And there's a part of me, and I don't know for sure, but there's a part of me that feels that the reason why they took in these other species is that they may have not been able to have any more children. And so there was a desire to have children. And they saw, these other species would come to them if they needed nurturing or, a place to hibernate.
This is a very interesting conversation.
Yeah. And we talked about how it was almost like a kangaroo having like this pouch. And I don't know if that's actually, in agreement with the species, but it just gave me that impression.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Okay. So this is going to blow your head. When I was a kid, a really little kid, I used to have this kind of fantasy world of mine where it was when I went to bed, right? When my mum tucked me up in the bed, I must have been about 4, 5, 6 or something like that. I can't remember exactly. But I sort of imagined that my bed was like this, a kangaroo pouch. And it was like it was like a time-space machine. It could go where it was it was a time.
Yeah, because they travel, they fly, right?
Yeah.
And they can go through dimension.
So every night I used to look forward to, because it was the adventures of baby kangaroo. That was my little fantasy when I was a little kid. And now we're saying that, there is a kind of kangaroo pouch type situation that is beyond time and space. That is just mind blowing. I tell you that. When things get personal like that, it just starts getting weird.
Yeah, because I believe that you might have possibly been in that situation. You might have been one of the ones that went to the dragon, and as Primus, it might have been something that was done.
Oh yeah, and there's another.
Like just did it, and
yeah, interesting. But there was another thing. It's like, where does Primus come from? Oh, he comes from right. So let's see. Right, and then
that's his interpretation of where you came from. He was like, he knows where you came from, doesn't probably know the details because he seemed like he was young, and his term of young, God only knows, because they're so ancient. But there's an immaturity level, and even like in the beginning of the story, you could see the immaturity level. It's almost like he was going through puberty. When he went into Neptune. So, what does it say here? And we know where Primus came from. You say it.
He was brought forth from the great mount on a planet that no longer exists. Kitara or Kitiara. This is where the name Kathmandu came from. One of the first of the Titans brought forth from the Bifrost. Now that's an interesting sentence. One of the first of the Titans brought forth from the Bifrost. I can't even say it.
So they're saying you were one of the early Titans that came from the Bifrost.
Yeah. What's this ice giant thing? This is I don't know this mythology. The ice giant. I've heard.
Don't know enough of it. I'm just it's almost like I get this stuff and then I have to go and look it up because I don't know what they're talking about. But they talk to me as if I should know it. And so,
so
the whole
good old
stuff,
Google.
I never studied it. And there was you'll see that this whole thing where we have someone that's Nordic that's going to speak.
All right.
And he talked about, I thought it was the Thule, and then I was corrected, by Lisa, and she said it was the Tula? Tula.
Yeah.
It was the Tula. So which is the Aldebaran, but we're going to get to that soon, but let's stick with this. So yeah, you came from the Bifrost, you were saying. So, maybe it was not destroyed. Maybe it was just ice. Maybe it was a planet of ice. What is the Bifrost? I don't know. I mean, we have to probably look into that more. And they said you came from the mountain.
Yeah. Well, the Great Mount on a planet that no longer exists. To be brought forth from the Great Mount. Now, that doesn't sound like being born. Yeah, that sounds like it's sort of being dug out, like a lump of rock and then carved or something like that, brought forth. But
I just called forth and form,
yeah,
who know the
yeah,
Bifrost is,
yeah,
you don't know, are you in hibernation?
yeah. Yeah, so brought
You,
forth from the Bifrost.
yeah.
So the Great Mount and the Bifrost seem to be the same thing, or there's Bifrost. I don't even know what Bifrost means, but it's part of, I think there's something about great heat and great cold. Something to do with that. That's
Maybe
something.
maybe the challenge here, would be great heat and great cold because of, the explosions happening in the constellations and at the same time, the absence of a heat source. So, once the, whatever happened there, everything froze up. So maybe there was life and then a freeze. Maybe it was like an ice age. Or it was an ice planet.
Yeah. Yeah, a whole planet where an ice age is, yes. So, shall we move on? Because we've got quite a few today, haven't we?
Sure, we do. I do want to emphasize, there was a short vision that I had of when he was talking to me about his parents, is the parents almost being transparent and walking into the darkness, and the parents were like almost wanting to separate from each other. Like the children were independent and the parents wanting to go off on their own. And kind of like an early divorce. Okay.
Early form of divorce, yeah.
Yeah, sort of. They just didn't know, kind of wanted to go on their own journey, and so it kind of went in that direction. And I saw Andronicus turn and look towards his parents with like remembering them, but wanting to move on and explore his life. So not thinking he needed it. And the other part that I wanted to bring up too is his warning us, because we're all talking, we're all, for some reason he said, we got the information that, that these species, the kind of hybrid species that were created, these monster-like species that have very bad consciousness, as well as the Vincala and the Greys, all came in during the Greek and Roman times, not during Atlantis as we suspected. And so he's saying
that
if
was
you
quite a revelation, wasn't
close
it?
those portals, that's the location to go to if you want to close those portals. So, to prevent it from, it's almost like they're going by way of Greece and Rome to here. So, and I think Andronicus opened that portal from us to ancient Greece and Rome.
Yes, and this makes sense why the elites all use Greek and Latin, and the whole treatment, the whole thing is all about. That's where their society is focused. The whole elite society is all focused in Greek, in Roman law, LORE, and Greek law. And so it makes sense that that's where they came from and not Atlantis. And that maybe Atlantis is a false flag. They're blaming something. There's a lot of this going on. We've been discussing this backstage, as it were. There's a lot of what we call false flag activity in the universe. It's almost like the normal thing. So nothing, as they say, is ever what it seems.
Absolutely. Nothing at all. And so, but, if we're looking to stop the flow of some of these energies, we have to find the location of where the door where it's coming through. And so that's what a lot of the work is everyone just kind of saying, yeah, and I saw that too, and I saw it come from there, and you get this validation, and then it's like, you can work together as a collective to stop some of the flow of these influences, because it's not human influences. We have a right to operate under the human status right now, and not being influenced by something, especially from the past, where there's a lack of evolution there. So let's see, who are we going to next? I think we should Let's go to the Orion Council. So this is what they had to say about the dragons.
All right, I got a new jingle. Let's try this one, okay? This is
Okay.
one I ripped from Bonanza, the old TV show. Meanwhile, the Orion Council. Do you like that one?
Yep. Pleiadian representatives. So we have...
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, we have 4 representatives. Go ahead, you can say their names.
Okay, 4 representatives. Sensia, Eastern Europe and Asia. Enon, US, Canada and South America. Afran, Russian Baltic regions. Keltor, UK and Western Europe. The regions are delineated to accommodate the expansion of development and growth. It has been brought to our attention that you were able to reveal an ancient infiltration of the Dragonis society that was introduced onto the planet by way of a maternal midwifery from the female Dragoness with different counterparts, including your acquaintance Andronicus, Zeus. Others had also made this link and have violated the introduction of a new species during the inception of the planet. Furthermore, they used this species in place of ancestral immigration. Because this species was so buried within the Earth's crust, it was not considered to be an influence. Yet the undercurrent caused us to derive many other species to be suspect without blame. This furthered the quest of discovery regarding a steady flow of unseen hostile influences. The regions affected had an obvious imprint and deep connection to the ley lines of the Earth's grid. The end result would display on the planet's terrain as the mountainous vertebrae of the Dragoness. The US Rocky Mountains and into Canada, a boundary between Europe and Asia, a boundary between European Russia and Asian Russia. Please take note that all of these lines lay north to south on the grid.
During the transmission, I began to notice the floating geometric shapes as if they had been freed or cleared of clutter. I believe I was observing quantum space at the time. I also observed an influence in upstate New York where I began to see Andronicus's cigar-shaped spacecraft. This time, he had learned to lay down in it as if it was a sarcophagus rather than jammed at the end. He was deep in hypersleep with a strong influence from Mercury. Once that was lifted, I noticed another craft there was a meteorite-looking spacecraft at first view. Then all of the debris cleared off and I was able to see what appeared to be a round metal craft, the color of pewter. I observed a circular light come off of it like Saturn's ring, or a memory of Saturn's ring, as seen in the symbol of ancient Sumerian image of Saturn. I believe the image was carved to help us identify and locate the craft for this very event far into the future of their insight. There were holes that gave off energy expulsions that made it appear to be a star around it. On the top was an X, where I saw the opening like a mouth, and all 4 sides that opened like a box. So it looks similar to that of the ancient carving of Saturnus in ancient Sumeria, and there was so it looked like sort of like a sun-like image of Saturn. And this was in the dimensional space in upstate New York. So I observed Rhodan. He came in and with to remove both vehicles. There was what was called the cleanup crew who arrived as part of the rescue mission, and Andronicus was then taken in his craft and remains safe and is in hypersleep. And the crew from Saturn, the escapees from the oppression that was in Saturn, are now being attended to. And to answer JP's question regarding John D., he was influenced by a male dragon from Dragonis. In the end, I noticed the cone of space was opened and an unexplained light source similar to the sun. It was no longer in an enclosure of white space that seemed artificial in retrospect, I imagine whatever happened had released the artificial substance and carried a release to the return of our original preset quantum status. So that is the end. Yeah.
So that's the Orion Council jingle. I think.
Yes, interesting.
So, wow. Okay. All right. So, because we were talking last night, and I mentioned John Dee being kind of, who the heck is this being? So we haven't really discovered John Dee's current identity, but he's got some stuff to answer for. In fact,
Yeah.
The Andromedans seem to have, that they're kind of in trouble because they weren't supposed to bring these creatures here, or something. What are you getting from this?
All right. So the dragons, what they did was they probably could have brought other Andromedans in. They had permission to bring the Andromedans in, and instead they brought in the Dragoness as like a relative. Like the way you would immigrate. And you can bring in your cousin, but they, instead of bringing their kin, they brought in these dragonesses instead, because they wanted their nurturers here. But it was a species that did not have clearance, similar to like the Emojine, or Thetans, they were not originally given, permission. So, that's where, the whole karmic thing, what happens is the species comes here and eventually then they'll end up in our karmic wheel and get to see what it's like to be us and experience different things. It's not as a punishment, but so that since they're around here, but they can't influence in a negative way without any repercussions. So, what the part they were saying is like those mountain ranges were like almost an impression of what they had left, even though, I know that I understand how the planet was formed, and then, the cold or whatever that kind of pushes the continents together and then creates these, but it's almost like energetically, it's like the dragonesses, and all of them are facing this sort of direction.
Right, yeah, so they're kind of like lined around the planet, like maybe holding it together. Interesting.
They're going right into our ley lines, and in a north to south direction. So that plus they're hostile. They're a warrior type of creature, and so there was this undercurrent, and so the Orion Council, they were trying to figure out where's this energy coming from, and other species were getting blamed for it because it was such an undercurrent, and they weren't aware where the energy was coming from. So now that they've identified it, and probably will take the species into incarnation mode, which maybe some of them are already there, and release the earth without energy.
I'm thinking. So that's absolutely, because it's right. So number one, dragons are a bit prone to pests, really, isn't it? We're talking, it's like dogs, right? You have a dog, right? And the problem with dogs is that they run through the forest and they pick up ticks, they pick up fleas, things are attracted to them. And that's probably the same way with dragons, is that things get attracted to them and then start influencing them, maybe.
Yeah, and I think they're just
my impression is if you have something that's a little bit sticky and like kind of pointed, so you leave it on the carpet and it kind of starts gathering stuff from the carpet and gets sticky and hairy, and it draws things with it. Stuff comes along with it. Oh,
right.
That reminds me. Anyway, I'll tell you.
We're going to have a music moment.
No.
So, this is the day of the dragon, This is the day of the dragon. And they're a species unlike any other species. They had a purpose. They actually probably contributed to the survival of some of these other species that had lost their mom. Okay, it's like the Dr. Seuss story, You, My Mother, and there's a big crane there, and there's, what I mean, like a big machinery, and so everyone is looking for that nurturing something one time or another. I don't care how hardcore you are, how much of a journeyman you are, you still need a little something.
Everyone needs a bit of mummying sometimes.
Yeah, a little bit of mummying, yeah. So I guess in some degree it's wonderful that the dragoness was there and helped them, but it's also a species that needed to evolve a bit and not be so angry.
She's an illegal
hostile.
alien. They're illegal aliens.
Yeah.
Truly illegal.
They came in illegally, yeah, through. And, a lot of that, they had a dominant force during the Celtic times, and so you see a lot of that the whole dragon stuff, just really being out there. And that probably was Meetis's fault. I wouldn't be surprised, Well,
it could be Andronicus, because he's...
Could have been Andronicus. He's just as bad, yeah.
Yeah. They're all pretty, Well, by our... all right. So here's the thing. They didn't know what their actions are going to cause. They didn't know about consequences because they hadn't happened yet. In the same way that we don't know the consequences of the things that we do today. Because they're unique. They've never happened before. So we have to be quite mindful that we are always as focused towards the benefit of the seventh generation. That this will create a benefit that'll benefit, everybody for a long time.
Absolutely.
So
now we're gonna.
Well, hang on a second. Before we go there, so Time Is Now has just said something. So regarding JP show, regarding dragons, I wonder if the Indian thinking about Rahu and Ketu is relevant. Dragon head is Rahu and body is Ketu. Ketu again. Big yarn about why dragon head got cut off. Rahu is also the north node in Western astrology.
See, yeah. Sounds like there's a correlation there, and I wouldn't doubt that all indigenous societies in some way, had that whole connection to it. The dragon, being a consciousness that was buried. So there are no major accidents, and even though the dragon was brought here from not in the right way, in some way there was an influence that helped to influence the human race. Maybe it was necessary. I mean, we don't know. I mean, say maybe in the future at some point our encounter with these species that will have some kind of familiarity with them, not feel so horrified by them or defeated, but rather engaging. And that's pretty much the way it should be. Maybe from some future perspective, there's all things are good, something to think about. But thank you for contributing that information, Tom.
So that's the Time Is Now. That's Maggie. She's actually in Australia. So this is great.
Yeah, it is.
I love this. So bloody cold up here, yeah. So Vanessa's saying blame Meetis.
Blame Meetis. Well, Meetis has some songs for us later, and hopefully JP's up to channeling it. Yes. So, but the next one we have is Yorik, and I think Yorik needs to come forward. And you might ask who Yorik is. I was thinking the same thing. Who in the world is Yorik, and why are you talking to me? Because I'm hearing all these different, connections and information. And I just, try to filter it out and make sure that, someone's coming from a source that has relevance to what's going on here. And so, he's started talking to me. I left the room and I came back, and this is how it starts.
Tell me when you're ready.
Okay, I'm ready.
My name is Yorik, and I come from the northern lights of Highbeen. What you refer to... Oh, sorry. Sorry. No. I'd accidentally typed that into the document instead of the chat room. That's why I got Highbeen. Let me start this one again.
Oh my god.
Corpse. Right, okay. So to do this, I kind of stretch myself up as tall as I can. All right, so let me just remove.
Can you do like a Nordic, like a Scandinavian accent or something? Because it was like Scandinavian or something.
Yes. It's slightly Norwegian. Yes. My name is Yorik, and I come from the northern lights of what you... I'm almost getting Welsh here. Hang on, slightly Indian. Hello. My name is Yorik, and I come from the northern lights of what you refer to as the White Nordics. We are of the Cadmia race from the far-off sector of intersection of time. Our deliverance to your planet was consequential. We had no understanding of the length and breadth of what lay before us. We are the children of, and the grandchildren of, in some way, the Titans, as you refer to them. They were much grander than we are, and had a surer footing on whenever they travel. It is true we are a mixed race, not pure descendants of theirs. The other parentage of our people came from the diamond race of Thule. I have heard you speak of Ketchaiton, Ketron and Kraton, Kronos and the Black Queen. Much of this has affected our stay on the planet. There have been researchers tampering with our entryway. We have endured much of the struggles of the inhabitants up above. It was our understanding that our presence would be another level of protection to the planet in the event that the prophecy would take place, and a new breed would enter to take over the planet. What we didn't know is that another bioengineered group would be created first. Instead of one wave, we shall have two. It is true that the Cloud Walker was here to observe our planet. What humans don't accept yet is the part of illusion.
I agree. Rhodan was upset about it, but it seems that it was debunked very efficiently.
Every species who have entered our planet have used similar forms of illusion. We recognize it because we are not tarnished by the illusion your planet is under. The same species who created the UFOs are the same influence of humans who deny it exists. It creates an environment of anomalies and confusion. Humans have forsaken their birthright. They doubt that anything supernatural can happen, yet it is done right in front of them. Your magicians are sometimes not just illusionists. They test the willingness of humanity to a brink, where they will deny any true power here to assist. You ask for miracles, but you cannot receive them if your heart dismisses all cheap hat tricks. I have been to the surface many times. My appearance is very much like yours, and have corrected a few things and blew the whistle on others. Then I disappear, never to be seen. Some of us do this on occasion to help. Unlike the group of Telusians, whom I question at times, they seem to be cowards and refuse to correct what they see, even when it is within their power to do so. I am about to take their jurisdiction from them because they are not allowing others to come in and help. They don't want to do the work, nor do they want others to do it. This shall soon end. The west coast of the US has a reach around the world, and they are filled with influences that of this world. We are hearing messages that should not be sent. These are messages of destruction. It is my duty to inform, and I have chosen you and JP as my voice. Primus was one of my ancestors, and I am pleased to connect with him. We have spoken before, and I hope to speak with him again.
I got this strange feeling that JP may have spoken to him or had him on as a guest on a radio show.
I have nothing more to say. Oh yes, you were a Nordic like us, and we have you in our ancient law with Odin. It was very long ago, and you scraped your legs upon the shards of black glass. We benefited by your injury. It saved all of us at one time. Our people still thrive amongst the fjords in the deepest caverns of forbidden human territory. Do not search for us. We will find you if you request our company. Thank you for sharing my information. Yorik. Well.
That's what I'm saying. Like, well, who's this Yorik, you know? But apparently, you know, he's... I got this really weird feeling you had interviewed him or talked to him on the radio.
All right. Once upon a
Do you know
time...
who this is?
Once upon a time, I had a guest. Wasn't a guest. Hang on. It was a crystal skull called Yorik.
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
And,
oh my God.
yeah, came through someone in Frank's healing group.
Is it spelled with a Y? Because I was like, is it U-R-I-K or how was it spelled?
They spell it Y-O-R-I-C-K. You know, there's a whole thing about the skull and Yorik, right? It's from Hamlet. That they're doing some grave digging, or they're sort of in this hole, and they find this skull, and they say, "Oh, whose skull is this?" "Oh, yes, oh."
It's freaking me out.
Yeah, and he says, "Ah, alas, poor Yorik, I knew him well." And that's the quote from Hamlet, I think.
Hamlet?
Is it Hamlet or the other one?
You know, I have people quoting from Shakespeare every now and then, and you know, the spiritual people that talk about Shakespeare as being a carrier of, you know, insights, you know, bringing in information. That is bizarre. I didn't know that. And so, all right, so tell me the story about who was on your radio show then. How did that work?
Well, it was a few years ago, and so one of Frank's group had this crystal skull, and you know, there's this big thing about crystal skulls. You know, they want to travel the world. And
Frank who is Frank?
Oh, Frank is
did he have his own show?
Yeah. Frank Jordan, has 3 shows a week.
Okay.
On Wolf Spirit Radio, and he's a healer, and there's a group of, you know, it's his group, and one of the group had a crystal skull, like people have crystal skulls, you know, and they, you know, acquire them and things like that. And this skull had would sort of channel itself through people, and it had all sorts of ideas about what it wanted to do, and it was called Yorik because, you know, it's the classic thing that, you know, whenever you get a skull in your hand, everybody does the whole Macbeth thing, you know. Not Macbeth, the other one, Hamlet thing.
Hamlet.
Yeah. Alas, poor Yorik, I knew him, you know. So.
Oh my God.
So it's a kind of standing joke. It's a humorous reference to a skull, you know, because it's like it's a prop for the Shakespeare play.
Well, he's talking about, you know, he steps into our reality and joins us and then goes back into the inner earth. Says he looks like us. I mean, I feel like he's like a bearded man, you know, Nordic looking. So, in the story of Hamlet, what are they saying about him? Like, I knew him well, and that's it? They don't really go into...
Oh, no. I mean, you know, a man of... I can't remember... I wish I remembered Shakespeare, but... you know, it's something like a man of infinite jest, and you know, good guy. He was just like singing the praise of this man who was now just a skull. He was dead and gone, and you know, no longer there. It's
little do they know he's still here, never dying. All right, I mean, when you saw that, were you surprised? Did you put the connection together right away, or it wasn't until we read it?
Well, you know, you get names, and names create triggers, and you know, you get all sorts of ideas. Yeah, because first of all, he's saying, it comes from the northern lights of what you refer to as the White Nordics. We are of the Cadmia race, from the far-off sector of intersection of time. It's not even in the galaxy, it's intersection of time. And our deliverance to your planet was consequential. We had no understanding of the length and breadth of what lay before us. All right. But they say that the grandchildren of the Titans.
Yeah.
And descendants of Prometheus.
Right. As well as the diamond, they called it the diamond race of, I thought it was Thule. And I'm like, well, who in the world is Thule? And then I heard it was Thule. Tula?
Tula.
Yeah.
And
they called it the diamond race.
And then it's saying, it's my duty to inform, and I have chosen you and JP as my voice. Primus was one of my ancestors. Primus, this guy Primus has been busy. I suppose if you've got nothing to do on an empty planet, you just walk around seeing what you can eat, fight, or shag.
Or talk to skulls, apparently.
Yeah, talk to skulls, yeah. Or, maybe, I don't know.
Yorik was a good man.
Yeah, let's see if I can...
tired. Late night talk.
We have late nights, yeah. So that was Yorik, and with
Yorik the talking head.
Talking heads, yeah. Where are we? Oh wow, we missed. We've gone right past the hour with a break. Do you need a break?
No.
Okay. Do you
want
to go straight on to the next one?
We got Rhodan, and then we have Meetis.
Yeah. So we'll do Rhodan, and then we have a bit of light relief, I imagine, from Meetis.
Oh, if you want to.
No, that's fine because it connects with your. Okay. Jess.
Yeah, I'm getting the file up.
Oh, you haven't got it yet. So, yeah.
Hold on a second. Meanwhile, at the batch station.
Oh, actually, Time is now saying, interesting, intersection of time is also where Rahu and Ketu are. Eclipse points where ecliptics intersect, meaning where the moon's and the Earth's orbits cross. Thank you very much, Time.
Wow.
So, yeah. So some people understand what we're talking about. Some people get the words that these people are using through us. I don't understand it.
They're the red people. Red pill people.
The red pill people.
They get it. They're looking, they're observing, they're awakened, and so they're putting the dots together, and just because we have put together a certain amount of dots, I love it when I talk to other people, because then they say, yeah, but, did you know that blah, 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 and they start, bringing in other pieces to the puzzle, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
It is amazing how it all sort of fits and just brings such clarity. Okay, so Rhodan, thank you again for sharing in the chat room. It's awesome, and JP will just share that with us when it comes through.
So, meanwhile...
Rhodan 10. After speaking with Yorik, I saw what appeared to be a soul piece of my own, a remnant of my soul that had been in the hands of Yorik in the Nordics. How could they held on to this remnant of myself during my life with Odin? I could see my face, my long hair, and the top of my head was a laurel of white flowers. I was finally free. They let me go.
I've been waiting for you to come to me. You can see that since you've communicated with me, things are beginning to work out for everyone. You made the right decision. Why are you worried that the Nordics held on to you? It helped them retain their lineage. It didn't harm you in the least and may have kept you from completely falling.
I don't understand. It's like a piece of my soul.
It was more than that. They determined some of your destiny. They sent you out to live in Nebraska, to be among some of their people. It wasn't us or any other reason.
Are they satisfied with my having my presence there?
Not completely. It didn't end well, did it?
Well, they control me too heavily. I couldn't do anything on my own. You know, I was not in a position to do so, and why did it have to happen that way?
It's over now. They were reprimanded for what they did. Much of the problem was a division among their factions. Some still believe in the old ways and others didn't. Those who didn't expected strong tests and challenges should be a part of your experience. They didn't believe it. They didn't believe who others said you were, and that is why you went through it. Instead of completing the journey, you left prematurely, and it was never completed until now.
I don't understand. What did I have to prove? I lived in isolation, essentially, and what was there to gain by that? Now I'm here with everyone, for everyone, not to be hid away in my house in a remote town.
That's correct. You should not have been observed in that manner. Many of them will be sent into the human realm to experience what they thought was what you should endure. They will live as humans now. You're not the only one they did it to, but they have a significant role for assisting them. Oh, sorry. I'll say that again. You're not the only one they did it to, but you have a significant role for assisting them, and it is something I've never spoken to you about. I know you've asked me on many occasions why you were sent there. Now you understand why. We needed to weed out the others who were causing deep injuries to the race. Some are refusing to evolve, others are doing well. The ones who refuse to evolve will incarnate amongst the humans. You will know who they are. Enough about Yorik. Now that we have settled that issue, you will no longer have to abide by their rules. You are now freed from them. It was something you both needed to learn. The forefathers were not wired to be held down and set in one place. They were created to journey, populate, communicate, and teach. This is what you are called to do, and let no one else speak otherwise.
Then I felt a band, like a rubber band, stretch out to its limits and then break. I went into one direction, and Yorik and his people went into another. We returned back to our proper place. Then I saw a raven fly off, and Odin appeared with his long flowing white hair and beard, wearing a long white robe. The background was snow-covered trees and black ravens flying around him. He then said he was angry that the Thule had integrated his people and caused them to stray from their heritage. I'm bringing another group to populate amongst my people to help them continue. Then he waved a great staff and blew the wind like a mighty rush of air and magic. Then the air began to swirl everything, and it pulled into his staff. He stood there in a pure white backdrop as if it was an alternate white space. He just nodded his head and then walked through a doorway that had a very bright light. I continued to speak with Rhodan. Suddenly it all made sense. I had a realization. Rhodan, that was you. That was you, wasn't it? You were Odin? It is you? You were also Rhodan, the Anglo-Saxon version of Odin. And then I saw that there was Rhodan in a... Well, we're going to skip... let's see.
No,
and then I saw
okay, go.
that there was Rhodan in a city of Canberra, Australia. Then I thought Canberra sounded similar to the race Cadmia, sounded a bit similar. I looked up in the words fjords, and they also are said to be seen in New Zealand, very close to Australia. And here is the last piece that came streaming through my mind in a flash. I was having a lucid dream, and there I saw a screen of a man where I thought who might have been causing me trouble. I reached forward and pulled the man from the scene, and who opened up like a magic carpet, and then stood there, disoriented a bit, with his back facing me. He had dreadlocks and looked indigenous. I was nervous because I pulled him out, but he turned and faced me because I needed to see his face.
and when he turned he looked like an aboriginal shaman with light skin and the markings of white on his cheek, like chalk or paint. His eyes were kind, not angry. I was too startled to speak. Tell me, Rhodan, is it true? Were you Odin, and possibly the shaman I saw? He looked down for a while and then looked at me with a similar look as the shaman.
What would you say if I was Odin?
Your name, Rhodan, could sound like Odin. I could see the connection.
What would you say if one of our earlier settlements on the planet was in that region of the world, by New Zealand, Australia, the South Pacific?
I would believe what you were saying. Was this before the human race existed?
Hang on, I've lost my place. Yes, long before. Our skin changed rapidly from the environment. It was too harsh for humans to be here, or any other race for that matter. We came from a much farther region of ice. Some remember it, but they think we still remain there. Some still do. Most have scattered throughout the universe and will continue to do so for many years ahead. We have seeded many races and tried to hide our identity. To not interfere. Often our people will visit and plant some seeds of influence to keep everybody on track. The influence we had on the Middle Ages is finally affecting you now. Our reach is vast and outstretched to help humans remember that they are close to the fire of destruction, but only a prayer away. It's that simple, but do not be ignored or taken for granted. But is not to be ignored or taken for granted. The awareness was bleak when we arrived, and soon, with a bit of levity and vigor for life, we stirred the people to thrive after the Black Plague.
You didn't cause the plague, did you?
Never, despite what other species say about us in the greedy attempt to persuade and dominate your resources. We have been parental to you. When you reprimand a child crossing a dangerous street, do you call that a good parent or a bad parent? That it is, in a nutshell, your perspective on parenting. I am lifting the illusion so the masses can see for themselves. You will all decide on your own. Getting back to your original question, it was me. I was Odin, Rhodan, and the Aboriginal shaman, actually a king.
You didn't look like a king. Your hair was disheveled. You were wearing simple garments.
A true king is in the heart, not only in the garments. I've seen more frightened kings wearing silk than I have with those who wear reeds and earthly adornments, such as feathers or sacred stones, etc. I was equally surprised at your ability to pull me from my reality that way. You are quite determined and fearless yourself. Perhaps you may have pulled a lion instead. Once Osiris, once Odin, once Rhodan, at another time without you. That's why you've been excluded or had a hard time in Europe. Once a sky god as a bird, once a kahuna as a great king, and more. Many faces, one beingness.
Are you in the future, past, or present time?
I'm in the future now, not far from you. Meetis stayed behind as a minstrel. He will grow weary of it soon. It always happens that he gets bored and moves on. You helped me move on.
How did I do that?
You pulled me from my kingdom on the planet. I was married to a Tulian queen and was never quite connected to her. I spent most of my time away from her and consummated a few times long enough to bring in the mixed race, as Yorik mentioned. His brother, Tristan, or Tristan, was my favorite son. He leaves me when I see you, because I don't return for a very long time, and then he takes my family to another location in Tahiti, as you know it. Here is where my people grow and develop. He was right for moving them. The rest of the Tulians stay in New Zealand and Australia. We ended the blending of our people with theirs and created our own homestead.
Where did the Turians come from, and how were they there in the first place?
We brought them from another star system beyond Sirius. You know them as Egyptians. Although we were mixed with them before, it was my specific wife that created a new race. I didn't like what we were creating. They were a race without consciousness or heartfelt emotion. Too cold, and there was a lack of warmth towards my children. There was a lot of cruelty. You helped change this reality by pulling me out. I was forgetting who I was. I forgot my ability. They pulled the life force from me. Her father wanted to rule it all. My sons saw me as dead, and I followed them onto the other dimensional side to see that they were all safe. Then I returned to Egypt and defeated Thule, the father, so he would never control me again. My brothers returned and helped me. In fact, it was not Seth or Andronicus who tried to kill me, but rather Thule. I later find that out after I leave her. It was you who pulled me out. It was you who helped me in the end. I needed to make sure of it. I needed to know you were the one who helped me before I began to make the changes.
What changes are you talking about? In our life, on the planet, who will it affect?
On the planet, it is clearing of the older energies and beginning in a new way. The wars predicted did not come from us. The destruction predicted was not our idea, and the destruction by robots only happens if we are gone. This is the choice of humanity. It is time for me to go. The council awaits me. Borkham and Khalib will return to speak to the people again at a later time. Goodwill and trusting in your devotion. Rhodan. Wow. So, check this out. So, in the chat room, saying First Nation in Australia have been here far longer than 60,000 years.
Yep.
Lisa saying Odin comes to me as a white wolf. Wow, so that's actually Rhodan. And the time is now, was told that I'd been sacrificed to Odin long ago. Gets running shoes on. So, that's quite interesting.
That was a shocker to me, because then I was like, no wonder the name Rhodan. It all sounds similar. And what surprised me is that I didn't see the connection early on.
Well, it's the same with Meetis as well. You know, that's a pre-existing, character.
A goddess.
Yeah.
And as well as Yorik, which I had no knowledge of as Crystal Skull. It's not one of the famous Crystal Skulls, that's for sure. So, yeah, I mean, when I started looking at him in that way, but what was really weird is he comes from being Odin and then jumps into Australia. Go figure.
Well, here's the thing. Here's a little bit of corroborative evidence. In Australia, on a rock, are carved what appear to be hieroglyphics, just the same as in Egypt. This is their language.
Really? All right, so then that has to do with the whole Thule people in Egypt.
Yeah.
Doesn't that make sense?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And then there's Canberra. It's pronounced Canberra. So that sounds a lot more like Cadmia.
Yeah.
So, so when, there's fjords, and fjords occur in Sweden and Norway. Fjords occur on the eastern coastline. No, wrong. The western coastline.
Of New Zealand?
of many places. So they're on the western coastline of Australia, of New Zealand, and also the western coastline of Europe, which is Sweden. That's where, Sweden and Norway, where all the fjords are. That's where you find the fjords. I have to practice my Nordic. It's very much.
I know it's like a really weird word in the first place. I didn't even know how to spell it.
Yeah.
They're bringing. I couldn't see the connection, but what they were trying to do is show sort of a geographical point of and show how they traveled, and then the similarity and what was going on, and how all of this interlinked. It's really strange, entangling.
Very, very quantum entangled, the whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, who would have thought that, when he says it wasn't the cradle of civilization over in the Middle East. And if someone ever told me that, I would have disagreed wholeheartedly. I'd say this is where it all started. Because I agreed with scientists and archaeologists. But when he said this, then I was like, that makes sense. It was like a very, very Aboriginal society. And they, I read a long time ago that a study about the Aboriginal people being very evolved, genetically. And we had that discussion. And, of all the races. So maybe there's still that remnant, genetic disposition that's connected to Rhodan, Woden, Odin, the list goes on.
Duh, isn't it? It's like, oh, duh, kind of moment.
Yes.
Odin, Woden, yeah. It's the O, right? Osiris. Odin.
Yeah.
Rhodan. Yeah, it's the O. So he's the O.
Say O.
Yeah.
He's the O.
He's the big O. So,
another thing I was upset about too is that Yorik I thought for years, why in the world did I end up going to the Midwest? I was planning on going out there for a couple of years and coming back, and I ended up being out there for about 9 years of my life. And it was so remote. I mean, I was out there in cornfields, and it wasn't the field of dreams. I mean, it sort of was, but I mean, it was amazing. It was beautiful. It wasn't altogether horrible, but it clearly took me out of like the path. But there were a lot of Scandinavian people out there. My husband, who's since passed, died early from an aneurysm, and he was German, Scandinavian, and Swedish and Danish. And so I was like kind of around that whole culture. Very, very interesting. It's like it completely took me into this other world. But, I was a little upset about it because it was like it kind of, didn't turn out well, and they weren't happy with it, and I wasn't happy with it. But then he broke the tie between me and Yorik. So that, I felt good about that. But I'm sure people have said, why in the world did I end up over here? I don't even know how that happened. So that was one of those moments. But I think the epiphany here was definitely, the realization that Rhodan was Odin and Woden, and we already know he was Osiris. So, and that the Aborigines were his first experience here on the planet. And then they went down to Tahiti, so there's a remnant of his people down in Tahiti as well.
Yeah, Tahiti, Katiki. Yeah, so now we've got 20 minutes. We better get on with Meetis because we're running out.
Meetis. Meetis.
Running out of show. I better go and get the axe. Hang on. in tune enough for jazz, that'll do.
Okay, Meetis.
Meetis. So Lisa's just sent me this picture of some Aborigine info with some glyphs. Kardiri is written at the bottom here. This is like a picture. So yeah, Lisa, do you want to send it to Jessica as well, so you can have a look while I'm reading this?
Yeah.
So, Meetis. Meetis. There you are. Feeling a bit sorry for yourself today, are you? Okay, well, I'll admit I was Rupert. Oh, what a woesome existence that was. So, finally, I left her to serve the clergy.
A group gathers around him and picks up his lute. He picks up his lute and begins to play it while laying down his hat to capture gifts of monetary value. Then Meetis begins to sing.
Hang on a second. I just got to get this page oriented a bit right. My mouse is a bit over enthusiastic. Right,
Yeah.
There we go. Silver. What's well, it's got to be an A.
Well, he's speaking to he's working for the clergy now, collecting alms.
All right. Yes. It's got to be a minor. Silver, silver, silver. Give me your silver, silver, silver. Lend me your silver, silver. To gather your gold in paradise. Worry, worry, worry about the future, future, future. Without any giving, giving, giving. You shall fall like luster fallow into the ground. Silver, silver, silver. Purchase your paradise now. Now hear me.
Okay.
Gather around, everyone. Come now and place your belongings at the foot of me, and I will take it to the farthest reaches of heaven now.
There was a clatter sound as the money and other wares fell to the ground, and it appeared that Meetis was good at gathering alms.
Right, I'm looking for the right mouse. Right. Well, it's the getting the mouse between the mouse disappears when I move off the page to the scroll, and I've got a lot of scroll. I'm going to have to use it anyway. Peace be with you, my child. Thank you so much for the offering.
Meetis gathered all the gifts in a waistcoat, and remnants were shoved in a bag. Meetis, you were misleading people and taking from them.
Ah, yes, but my wife wanted me to work, and so I am. Some for me and some for the clergy.
That's dishonest.
Oh, and you think you're perfect, do you? What are you troubling with me now, wench?
I don't think any of this is right. Telling people that they can go to heaven or paradise if they give you their hard-earned money or belongings.
What would you say to them? They could pray and hope for the best. I am helping them find their faith and believe that if they do something good, that they will end up in a place where they can reap their rewards.
I just saw an image of the play. Is the play going on now?
No, it hasn't happened yet. It's about to happen. We're expecting the arrival of the reapers. Not sure why they were coming. A horrid affair to be seen. I will depart at that time.
Who orders them to come?
I don't know. It is a strange affair, this time period. There are all manners of contrary thinkers, workers, and points of view. One minute the earth is flat, and the next minute we were twirling around through endless space.
Why don't you explain to them what is going on?
Yeah, we tried very much so. We tried to help them understand their birthright, the way the universe operates, and we were met with opposition on every corner. The people are in such a dark place and really stuck in it. I'm afraid that some of your people during your time are still in this state of thinking. What a folly. A cluster of them sitting about without barely a lofty thought amongst them. They can't fathom the powers that be. Any supernatural activity is subject to a burning. They are quite superstitious, you know. I don't dare say a word. The emerald is here. The Doric belt has opened and he has arrived. He shall take form and speak with us. He will guide who you recognize as Master Shakespeare.
Who is the emerald and where is the Doric belt?
It is Zamfir, of course. Who else? He is the master songster, lyrical prince of all times. It is I who gets to learn from him. Rhodan is gone. He gets bored easily. I shall make great music with Zamfir around. We also call him the Zephyr.
What is the Doric belt then? Type of garment?
No, silly. It is a pathway from the inner earth. You should already know about this.
I've never heard about it until today. What are you speaking about? An organic path that goes into the inner earth. Where can it be found?
It cannot be found. It is a labyrinth the Zephyr created when only he and a few others know the pathway.
Why did they call it the Doric belt?
Because of the way it opens like a belt, sliding from one side to open and unattached to the other. Circe knew all about it, but she dared not enter. From what I understand, you have been there on numerous occasions. Only Zephyr made you forget.
Meetis, you resemble Asmodeus now. What happened to you? Are you truly Asmodeus?
I can take on many forms, and this is the one I choose to display to you. Zephyr asked me to not show who I am at this time. You talk about me as if I'm a green beast or lizard, so I will show you what a true beast looks like now.
All right, fair enough. I won't say anything unless you tell me otherwise.
I was in a vulnerable state when you saw me then.
Then I saw Meetis change to a young boy or waif, and then he turned into a horned beast, and then he turned into a lovely maiden. Which one of you, truly?
The man you saw with brown hair.
I then saw Meetis with shoulder-length hair, brown curly hair, and masculine humanoid form. This is what you really look like? If so, why do you continue to change?
I morph according to how others form an opinion of me. If you dislike me, I'm a beast. If you like me, then I am lovely. If you fancy me, then I am your desire.
I see. But who do you fancy?
Right now, I fancy Rhodan. He is quite breathtaking, all the power and beautiful strength with endlessly amorous eyes. He could draw in both male and female of your race. I fancy Zephyr as well, but he's very selective of his desires. You were wondering if I feel amorous towards females? Very much so if they have the type of power that I like. It is hard to explain.
Let's talk about what your mission is and where you are now.
I don't have the freedom to express these things freely. I can merely say that there is always a plan of operations. One must travail when helping a race of beings learn to become more self-sufficient. Rhodan was hopeful that this time was right to unveil some universal truths. Unfortunately, this is not the case. He has little patience and will disappear when things are not going in the way he intended. He's quite a perfectionist and everything must perfectly align, as he says. Why is Pram aside these days?
Oh, hold on a sec.
Yep.
JP?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Can you reread that? Because I think it was cutting out.
Oh, right. Oh, yes, I'm getting a bit of interference.
Bit of a interference.
Yeah. Well, it's not bad. This is the first time in a day or so.
We're getting Meetis interference.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just yes. I need to do some reconnecting here.
Do you want to call me back?
Yeah, I'll give me a. All right, I think we're back on. Right. How's that now?
That's still
a bit good.
not very good.
Still a bit good.
Why don't you call me back?
Yeah, I'll call you back in a second. Okay.
Okay.
So I was just playing while that disconnects. So hopefully people should be back online. Let me just check the chat room now. So there we go.
Okay.
Oh,
Sounds
okay.
better.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. No, yep. I'm back. Okay, so back again.
So you
So-
said that let's talk about what your mission is and where you are now.
I don't have the freedom to express these things freely. I can merely say that there is always a plan of operations. One must travail when helping a race of beings learn to become more self-sufficient. Rhodan was hopeful that this time was the right to unveil some universal truths. Unfortunately, this is not the case. He has little patience and will disappear when things are not going in the way he intended. He is quite a perfectionist and everything must perfectly align, as he says. Why is Primus sad these days? I shall sing him a song as he honoured me with his rendition of mine. Which is... Love and sweet spice lift the hearts of many, but you, my dear, have more tender kisses than any. I am weary of this endless conversation of nothing. Not necessarily with you. Even your disagreeable way is better than many conversations. I
It's
know.
breaking up, JP.
Oh, again. Uh-huh.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, I'm losing signal here.
Yeah. Yeah, the signal. It's too bad because it's a great song.
Well, it's going to be...
Can you hear me clearly?
You're coming through clearly, yeah.
Can you?
Yeah.
I'm coming in clearly.
Yeah. It'll all go on the archive. So, yes, we're getting...
Okay.
Somehow getting a hit. Well, we got 5 minutes, so we should be able to finish it. Okay.
So it's you said that he was weary.
Yes.
See if we can get through that.
Right, hang on. Let's just get my headphones.
He just sang you a song.
I got the cord tangled in my my guitar strap. There we go. All right, now I can plug myself back in. All right. Okay, so, Meetis. I am weary of this endless conversation of nothing. Not necessarily with you. Even your disagreeable way is better than conversations with many. I know you understand our frustration. I see it in you as well, Suma. Be strong. Much of the smokescreen will be gone soon. Zephyr is planning a visit soon. Be careful with Khalib. He is very easy to offend. Be off now, sweet butterfly, petunia. Your lovely ways have put out many fires. Stand by the birch trees for a while, let them light upon you until you begin to smile. Pearls and apple blossoms. Juliet begins to frown. And then she lifts of silvered raindrops that soften her fragrant crown. This is what you shall know. Reach high into the labyrinths of long spilling gardens above. Sounds like a bill. Hang on. Yeah. For within this palace you shall find never-ending love.
Meetis strummed the chords in a sequence of 3, and then he leaned over and sat his lute by a tree. The wind blew and he was gone. There a young boy came and took the lute for his own. That was Meetis.
Wow. Beep. Yes.
Yeah.
So there's Meetis. Sorry about this.
I hope those songs came through. It was really brilliant. It was beautiful. Yeah.
I'm all tangled up in guitar straps and headphones and falling everywhere.
Maybe it was just too much stuff going on there. What about that song that he sang for you there?
Okay, I got my headphones back on now. I can hear what you were saying. I was having a bit of a... I can hear you now, yeah.
All right. So no, that's... I don't know if everyone heard, if that music came out. If not, maybe we can repeat it at another time.
Yes.
Looks like we're running out of time, but really interesting what he had to say. Things are going to be clearing up. He's trying to kind of evasive about what's going on around everywhere, and talking about the plague coming through. So, and then Zamfir, he calls Zephyr.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think about his songs?
Pretty. I wish I could do them justice. But anyway, we'll get something going.
I think you did, but we were just, for some reason, it was, now we have such clarity.
Yeah. It's not completely clear yet. But anyway, we're at the top of the hour.
Yes.
At the top of the show. It's been quite an amazing one, full of music and drama and this stuff, the entertainment makes itself. And we're learning about history. Thank you so much, Jessica.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, JP. And thank you for everyone in the chat room. You've been wonderful for listening through it all. And I appreciate it. Have a great week and see you next week.